Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You as well.
Good evening. So long.
Bye-bye now.
All right, so as I was saying, I just got done with the MVP listening session. I know Marshall is still on that call, so I'm sure he'll be along with us shortly. So let's call the meeting to order at 6:04. I'll take some brief minutes in Marshall's absence. And when I mean brief, I mean really, really brief. So I don't see anybody in as far as the public, so I'm gonna ask for public comment, and I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna get any, so we'll go over that. We have, Marshall sent us meeting minutes, draft minutes of April 8th and April 15th. Did everybody get a chance to look at those?
April 15th.
I guess I did.
I don't know if I saw the,
There was 4 of them actually on there. There were 2 final versions of previously approved ones, and then there were 2 drafts, April 8th and the 15th. And if we don't have them, it's not a big deal. We can catch them next week.
okay. I just, I don't know why I'm having trouble finding them, but
Yeah, they were sent out April 18th. I did get a copy. Walt's on there, Dave, Sarah. April 18th at 1:19. I don't know if that helps you for your search.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking through everything. April 18th. No. Nope, I'm not finding it.
Then
Well, I can, I'll forward it to you.
Okay, please do. That'd be great. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, well, Walt's waiting to get that. Does anybody have any new business that they would like to bring up?
This is Glenn Hathaway. I don't have any new business.
None here either. Curious
Dave?
about the E code, when they're gonna start.
We'll get back to that.
Okay.
Dave, do you have any new business?
No,
Okay, very good. So regarding Walt's question on general code, I spoke to the town administrator on Tuesday. He has not yet spoken with general code and executed that contract. So I reemphasized to him the importance of the timing of getting that done. Because I also spoke to Carolyn Yettle from general code, and because she had reached out to me wanting to know where we were. So basically, once the contract is signed and it's sent over to them, it takes about 30 days for them to assign an editor to our project. So as I said, I spoke to the town administrator and reemphasized the need to execute this thing in a timely manner. So I don't know if it got accomplished later this week or not. If I were a betting person, I would say not. I know he's got a lot of focus right now on trying to get things wrapped up for town meeting, but I will continue to pursue that, make sure that we get that piece moving. All right, Walt, did you get those minutes yet? Or are you
Yes.
still?
Yes, I did. Marshall had sent them to my BU email account and just got buried in a few hundred emails.
So
I have a separate email account for my Gmail account. I'll have to give that to Marshall.
So the April 8th meeting, Glenn was not in attendance, so he won't be able to vote on that one. So I'm going to offer up a motion for approval of the minutes of the April 8th meeting.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the roll then. Bill Johnson, yes. Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Dave Perry,
yes,
and Glenn Hathaway will one abstention.
Yeah.
Okay, next up would be the minutes of the meeting of April 15th. And I will offer up a motion to approve the minutes of April 15th as written.
This is Glenn Hathaway, second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, I'll call the roll. Bill Johnson, yes. Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Dave Perry,
Yes.
Glenn Hathaway.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, gets those out of the way. So what we have on the agenda for the general bylaw review tonight is 12, 13, 14, and 15, although I did find out when I was going over it, there is no 14. So kind of learned something new. I don't know why there's no 14, but there doesn't appear to be one. So
I didn't even notice.
yeah, it's like, okay, where'd 14 go? Because as you know, last week I was a little bit confused on, what numbers that we were going to review, but I think I'm caught up now. So let's start out with.
Well, didn't we want Sarah to be here for some of these though?
Well, we had talked about that, but Glenn and I were talking about that before. So I did not specifically reach out to her. And like on new construction number 12, I'm not sure there's anything we're going to do with that because it's all regulated by the state building codes and the National Electrical Code and all that kind of stuff. So this
Yeah,
is,
I mean, that was my only comment. It seems so, it's really, in fact, it's almost like the section only needs, the chapter only needs one section, and that says, refer to the state building code.
Yeah,
Period,
yeah.
And it actually confuses it a little bit more by having what little is there. Other than the fact that I go back to the same thing I say on everyone, I don't think we should put dollar figures in bylaws, and we should have them just say something to the effect that they're set by the Board of Selectmen on an annual basis, period, and done that way.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see what we get for feedback back from general code.
Me too. Yeah.
About that exact topic, because I agree with you, Walt. It just doesn't make any sense that we put these fines in the body of a bylaw. It just doesn't seem to be the appropriate place for it.
Well, you take this one, for example, this was last amended in 2013. So that means these fees, are so old. And then you can find others. There's one down here further. We'll see that it was last amended in 1987. And there's fee dollars in there. They've never changed since 1987. So, I mean, that's, but it will be, I think general code and what's done in other towns will be interesting to hear.
So other than the fines, I didn't really have anything to talk about there. Again, stretch energy code, that's not something that's up for debate locally. That's run at least by the states, maybe the feds, I'm not sure. So.
No, I'm all set with that. That's a whole different animal.
Okay, excellent. So let's call 12 done. And again, I made note of I highlighted the fee piece, but I don't think we need to be looking at making any substantial changes there. We'll see what comes back from general code about how they think that we should deal with that. Maybe there's a way to incorporate it someplace else or make some of it go away or minimize it like Walt suggested. So next up is 13, which is protection of wells. And again, I personally didn't see a lot there that we could do anything about. Again, there's fees that are outlined in there in section 2, so those certainly will be highlighted. But does anybody else have anything?
This is Glenn Hathaway. For Board of Health, there's a set of well regulations that we look over, and when there's new construction, we go to that and we're asked to approve that if there's a renovation or well is abandoned. So I called Neshoba, talked to Rick Metcalf, and just shared that same statement. He said it's fine. The fact that it's asked for this 300-pound weight to be on. Typically, that's applicable to, the older homes in town that would have a dug well, that might have a cover that's 3 feet where, an animal or a person could fall in. So if it's abandoned, usually we ask for this weight. Typically, all new construction, it's typically it's a drilled well, 6 to 8 inch, piece of pipe going in. And there's a very detailed description in our well regs. If it's abandoned, you stuff bentonite in it, and it's a clay that, once it hits water, it swells up and seals. So there's a whole statement within our regs too. So he really didn't have anything to add to this. We should just keep it as stated.
Or it's redundant. I mean, we need to even have it if it's in your regs?
You're right, and that might be something, as we talk to general code, they might look for duplication of things. And one thing we briefly described, our regs, tobacco regs, the well regs, those, we may be incorporating that all into these they're not in these bylaws. We may, general code may come back to us, Walt, and say, yeah, let's put them in. That might, the whole idea of keeping it all in one place, we're happy about that too.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
So you're right, that might go away, and then you'd have a chapter on well regs for the town. So, okay.
Glenn, who maintains or writes those well regs? Is that the state?
It was the state.
Yeah,
It's the
state.
state, yep.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, I don't see the need for us to have all this redundancy. If the state regulations are what everybody is adhering to, then I agree. I think those should be in the document. So again, you don't have to go here, there, and everywhere. It's right here. Here's what you need to do. Or at least if you don't have the whole thing in there, so you don't have as many pages, but at least reference where to go to find the information.
Well, that, as stated before, like the building code we just went, it states the Mass State Building Code. You're right. This might be just referred to state regs. And that way there's not any confusion, because the engineer going in to find out how do I build an Ashburnham would look at this and have to look at our regs. So if he went into this, he or she went into it would be, look at the well regs for the state. That would, you're right. It should be, maybe it's just the referral period. So.
Yeah, because I think we pay by the page on some of this stuff. So
I'm sure,
well, we don't want to be putting that in there. So
That explains why we have our next section chapter in there.
Yeah.
By the page.
Yeah. So okay, so let's call 13 wrapped up and go on. And then again, 14 doesn't exist. I'm going to try to find out where 14 went, but it's not there. So that would bring us to 15, which would be Council on Aging. And there's obviously a bunch of things in there. I didn't really see too much of anything that jumped out at me personally.
I agree. I just found it strange that we need a bylaw for this. It just seemed like this is an operational department that is underneath the town administrator. And I don't understand why we have a bylaw that describes a committee like this. And I don't see a similar bylaw that defines the planning board or the ZBA or the health commission, or, it's just strange why we have even a bylaw for this. It did call to question some of our operational failings in our town. As I read through this, I went online to see they're supposed to be meeting every month, and they've met twice. It says in the bylaw to meet every month, and they're meeting only twice a year, or they've met twice this past year. And I go to look at the minutes, and the minutes aren't accessible. You can't get to the minutes. So I don't even think it just raises more questions about what we're not doing than anything else. And my reaction to the whole chapter was, why do we even have it? Shouldn't it just be, one of the things that's required by the town administrator to oversee and make a report on? But that's my 2 bits.
Yeah, I think that is a appointment of the town administrator. I don't think the Board of Selectmen do that. And I think that's a great point, Walt. Why?
So is that a general, general code could come up and say, yeah, no one else
Yeah.
does it. So
Yeah, that's what I intended, just to, let's ask general code and,
Yeah.
it's one of those things too, that I have a feeling as I'm reading things like this, and even the one on the dog license that's next, I went ahead an extra one just because I knew, just because I just kept going, but it just raises, it may be a different phase. For example, moving this out of an example, if, for example, we all say, we don't need this bylaw in there, maybe it's not something we want to take out the first time we go to a town meeting.
Right.
Because it's one of those things that's going to get more questions, and it's going to be more, it's going to add to the bureaucracy, and it just might be something that, it's not hurting anything now being in our bylaws. Let it go and put it on the town administrator to come up with a recommendation, but don't take it to a town meeting until we've gotten more important things passed. But that's just my gut feeling, because it's really not, a substantial issue in the town, other than the fact that I'm sure people have criticisms of we should be doing more for Council of Aging, and we're not.
Yeah, but I think that, the brevity that with which we're going through this, we're just trying to find the big issues so that we can help general code and trying to meet this May 1st deadline to go, yeah, it is a mess. Here's how big a mess it is.
Yeah.
Something like this is really a discussion. And on the next one, I called Neshoba Health, who we contract us. I've called the experts that we've hired to go, why do we have the dog? Why is it like this? So Council of Aging, after we're through that, we should have a discussion with them, get on the phone, or if we were in meeting and say, do you feel that you should be a part? And, just ask someone there. When I talked to Rick Metcalf, he said, the Board of Health, we partnered with them on some things, because we have nursing staff, the town through Neshoba. And, for some vaccine stuff that's happened recently for flu, they'll come to the board, and the Board of Health will work with the Council of Aging on that. But other than that, I think it's a call to them, and a discussion with all of us with that. And, why is that needed, or if it is needed, so.
Yeah.
Right.
I think one of the things that's going to be interesting as we work our way through this is because the way it's proposed right now is that it's a two-step process. It's the recodification of the bylaws, which is essentially to take everything we have, renumber it, organize, and do things like that. And then the second phase is the legal review and the comparisons and things like that. So I'm going to be curious to see, when we get to both those stages, how we bring it to town meeting. Do we bring it a little bit at a time, or with the first one, is it going to be a whole bunch of stuff and say, here you go, here's all the changes that we've made that we'd like to, either get rid of or change or whatever. And then will there be a third phase where you look at, well, we need to implement, certain things in there. Again, I don't know how it's going to develop, what the recommendations are going to be, but to Walt's point, that could be an interesting decision about how we move forward, because obviously we want to be as successful as we can be at town meeting, and not just have people say no because, oh, it's too big, it's too complicated, and get hung up on one potential bylaw like this.
Yeah. I think you're right. It is almost a three-stage thing, because there is a part of this where you can recodify it, then you can get a legal review to clean up stuff, that duplications, and a legal review of some things where we sort of challenge that are bigger issues. But then there's more, operational things, what's working and what's not. I mean, when we go to the next one on dog control, as Glenn was saying, my only comment with dog control is this bylaw working? Is it working for the town? But that's not actually part of step 1 and step 2.
Right.
It's sort of part of step where you look at a bylaw and you say, I'd want to go to I'd want to go to the town administrator and whoever it is who's doing the dog licenses and stuff like that, or dealing with these issues and saying, do you do all of these things in this bylaw? And does it work for you? Is it effective? Are there ways to improve it? It's not, it doesn't mean squat to me. I mean, we get our dog license when we had dogs. We got our dog license every year and that was it. And it's nice to know that there are some controls for dogs that get out of hand, but how often does that happen? And is it a big deal in this town? I think that's more of a town operational issue and question than it is our job. It's not really in our job.
So let's do one thing here. So actually, let's do two things. Are we all set with Council on Aging as far as we're just going to leave that alone for right now and circle back on that one? Is
I'm good
everybody
with
okay with that?
Yes, Glenn Hathaway, yes, I would.
All right, so then the next question is, we didn't have municipal dog control on this one. I have no problem doing it, though. I too went through it, and we're only 20 some odd minutes into this. Is everybody, you want to move forward with do the next one?
Oh, the one after the dog control?
No, the one on dog, because that
Yeah,
really
let's-
was.
Yeah, I
that
would just
was-
do the dog control. I think everybody sort of looked at it. And before you came on, Mary was on, and I just confirmed with her at one point, the dog officer was hired by the town, reported to the Board of Health. I think we had the payroll was through us, and that changed years back. And now, just for clarity for everybody, the town actually hires a service who I think they're out of Gardner, but they do multiple towns, and they supply an animal inspector and dog officer. And they're the ones who keep the records, the inventory of things that are happening in town, what you're saying, dog bites, complaints. So there's a service that we get, the town pays for right now. So that should help us greatly. And as far as when this was written, the dog control law, I'm not sure if we had that service at that point.
We
But
did.
this is another one that we might want to get them on the phone, a representative of the company, and walk through this, or send this control law to them, have them review it, see what they're doing in other towns, and then have a discussion like this with them through the articles and go, because I'm not sure,
Yeah.
what's good and bad. I like the fact that at least you and I have an avenue when the dog's barking at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. After 15 minutes, it's a nuisance. That gives some teeth to the police officer who is going in. Oh, he's been barking for half an hour. Per a bite. So there's some good things in here.
Yeah.
But the other stuff, I don't definition of terms and other stuff. I mean, nuisance. I would look right to the service that we hire to go. Is this a good law?
agree.
You find that all your towns are doing this, so.
Actually, Glenn, it's not a service. I believe it's the city of Gardner.
It is a Sydney guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's the city of Gardner. We have I think a municipal agreement with them on animal
We
control
share.
services. Yeah, and
Okay.
they,
Well, that-
like Mary was saying, they do the barn inspections and things like that, because obviously, there's some specialization of those things. So we pay whatever the portion is of the expenses related to that.
Well, that's interesting because this section also, last amended in 2013, has a couple of places where there's fines identified. I'm wondering if, because we're paying that service, are our fees in this bylaw the same as what Gardner is charging, for example?
Right.
And should this not, all of this definitely is another one that we don't want actual dollars in our bylaws that we have to update every time a dollar changes. And we know ours hasn't changed since 2013. So,
Well, in part B of that question, are we actually getting the fines, or are they going to the city of Gardner?
Right.
exactly,
So you're
exactly.
double dipping. Yeah.
Yeah. We're paying them a fee. Are we getting the money back? I think we are, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So those are my comments.
Yeah, mine too. It was that simple.
I know, is Dave still on the phone? I see it.
It's a,
Yeah.
Dave, do you have anything on municipal dog control?
I agree with Walt. It would be interesting to see if we're getting any of that money back.
Yeah, we can, I can bird dog that, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can look into that, but yeah, no, I think this is an important one, that it's here because it does certainly establish the guidelines that people can reference, but it would be a very good question or conversation to talk to Gardner and say, is it actually working, and how often, do these things happen? I know another one that's come up a couple of times, and obviously this is about dogs, but I bet you we get as many calls about chickens as we do with dogs.
Yeah.
With problems that happen there. So it'd be interesting to see.
Well, Rick had mentioned roosters are a problem because at 4 o'clock
Yeah.
in the morning, they're, whether you like it or not, they're letting everybody know it's time to get up. And so from dog barking to animal, so whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm good. I'm good with this section.
Okay. Dave, do you have anything else on that? You're good on dog control?
Yeah, I'm good on dog control. Just, like I say, again, I agree with Walt about looking into where the money's actually going.
Okay, so then that brings us to the end of what we're going to do for tonight. So what I'm going to propose, if everybody's okay with it, is that next time around, again, assuming these numbers exist, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So we do 5 next week and get us a little bit caught up on that stuff. Is everybody okay with that?
I'm good. Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I am too.
If nobody has anything else, then I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn at 6:30.
This
I
is
second that
Hathaway.
one.
Second that.
Okay. Bill and Glenn. All right, I'll call the roll. Bill Johnson, yes. Walt Meisner,
Yes.
Glenn Hathaway,
Yes.
Dave Perry.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Record-setting time tonight.
Yep.
We'll see you. Enjoy the week.
Very
All right,
good.
you too.
Thank you.
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Bye.